Now here in the forest, the animals like to use the thick trees and undergrowth to hide from predators. Although it looks like the okapi on the right don't feel like hiding at all today. Now you might think that by the stripes on their legs, they are a relative of zebra. Well, they are actually the only living relative of giraffe. Both the okapi and the giraffe have something that is called a prehensile tongue, which is actually a super long tongue that they use to eat leaves off of trees. Now the okapi's tongue is actually so long that they can reach back and lick their eyeballs. And I know that kind of sounds gross, but it does help them keep them clean, which is definitely good for fighting off infections. Now up over here on top of the hill are my very favorite animals in the whole world. They look really cool with those orange and white stripes. These are the bongos. Now both male and female bongos actually have those horns, so the way that we can tell the males from the females is by the color of their fur. The males get a lot darker as they get more dominant in the herd. We'll see if we can find the male nearby. He's probably not too far behind the females. Oh, and you see the brown antelope over there? It kind of looks like a very large deer. Those are the greater kudu. Now, these are females, we can tell because they don't have any horns. And over here on the left, taking a nap along the rock wall, is the black rhino. Looks very sleepy. Looks kind of orange too, probably because he rubbed up against some of that clay. Now, black rhinos are only about 3,000 pounds. I know I said only, but wait until we see the white rhinos. Black rhinos also have horns on their head that used to be believed to have medicinal properties, which is often why they were poached. However, they are only made of keratin, which is exactly what you can find in our own hair and nails, so they really don't have any medical properties that will be beneficial to humans. Now, just before we exit Ituri Forest, there's going to be two birds over on our left here in a second once we pass the bamboo. They're going to be the black and white ones way back there in between the brush and the rocks and bamboo and all that kind of stuff. Those are the saddle-billed stork. Now, those birds there actually have a wingspan of about 9 feet, which is actually the same as the width of the canopy above your heads. And of course, above your heads is also going to be the animal spotting guide that you can use throughout our journey together to spot and identify different animals. Now we're going to head down into Safi River here in a moment, and when I take this turn to the left, there might be a hippo pool to our right that some hippos will hang out in. However, this is a blind turn, so even if they're already there, I can't fully stop to get a look at them. Luckily though, the rest of them like to hang out further down on the left, so we'll take a quick sneak peek together here. I think I see one very dark shadow down there. Now let's go see if we can find their family members. I'm guessing that we'll probably get a good look because it looks like the truck ahead of us waited just for a moment to get a look at them. So when these trees disappear on our left, we'll hopefully be able to see a bloat of hippos. Ah, yes, there they are. Hanging out just behind the island there. They're actually standing on the ground because it's very shallow over there. They weigh about 5,500 pounds, and they can actually can't swim at all. So what they'll do is they will sink all the way to the bottom of whatever body of water they're in, and then walk alongside of it to move through the water. Now, when they are on land, though, they can run about 35 miles per hour. And they're on the left as well. Hanging out by the hippos are the gray and white birds. They are called the pink-backed pelicans. And while they look gray and white right now, they do blush pink during their mating season. Yep, good example of them moving through the water all the way down underneath it. And round in the corner here. So this area used to be the Nile crocodile's home, but as you can see, the water is drained out. That is actually because they're getting a lot of updates to their habitat. So Nile crocodiles are not out at the moment, but this is typically where you could find them. However, we are going to cross their bridge. We're going to head up a little hill to something called Overlook, which is going to give us a quick sneak peek into the savannah before we head down into it. Now, the savannah is, of course, home to the more famous animals like the giraffes, zebras, elephants, and wildebeest. But I do hope that I can introduce you to some new friends that maybe you have never met before. Now, speaking of, is it anybody's first safari? Any first timers? Oh, fantastic, guys. It is my first safari, too. I'm kidding, it's my second. Now, in just a second, of course, we will be heading down into the savannah, but first, over here on the right, I do want to introduce you to this very large tree. It's actually called a baobab tree. Now, this is one of many trees that we will actually see today. The baobab tree does remain leafless for about 9 months out of the year so that it can conserve a bunch of water. And during that time, it'll actually take in almost 30,000 gallons depending on the size of the tree. And during dry season out here on the savanna, if the animals that live here can't find an adequate water source, they're actually able to stick their tusks and their horns directly into the bark of that tree, and they can get a little drink of water from it, which actually gives it its nickname, the Tree of Life. If you remember the Tree of Life from Lion King, or the one that's actually right in the middle of Animal Kingdom, those are also both baobab trees. Now you know what they look like with and without leaves. And yes, of course, Maasai giraffe welcoming us out into the savanna. They can grow about 16 to 20 feet tall, which is how they can easily reach up to those tree branches. They do an excellent job of keeping all of the leaves on the trees up and out of the way so that other animals can easily move through the savanna. We actually like to call the savanna the natural highway for the animals and their migration patterns. And the giraffes have that job of keeping everything nice and clear from the tree's point of view. And then the smallest antelope, the springbok, will even have a big job of keeping all the grass cut nice and short by eating it all. And then strong animals like the elephant will push back debris and fallen trees, not only to keep them out of the way for migrating, but also to promote more forest growth. Now the giraffe that you're seeing out here, they are the Maasai giraffe. They've got very distinct markings on their bodies that to me kind of look like jigsaw puzzle pieces that don't quite match together. There's not many straight lines in between them either. And if we get up close to one, you'll be able to see all of the very distinct little rigid patches up there. Oh, and over here on the left, my friends, you'll see the African wild dogs. There's one that seems to be awake, and the rest of them seem to be taking a nap underneath the overhang to the left. Now, they might look super soft and cuddly like dogs we have at home, but they are actually the most successful hunters out here on the savanna. They can chase their prey to the point of exhaustion, and they also have great communication among the herd and are able to change their hunting patterns on the drop of a pin. They've also only got 4 toes as opposed to the 5 toes that dogs and wolves have, so just goes to show you they are completely different. Over there on the left, taking a nap, are 4 sable antelope. They are the emblem for the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. And now we're getting a little bit closer to this Maasai giraffe, as well as the herd of wildebeest that are taking a nap with them. Now, wildebeest will actually gather in groups larger than any other mammal in the world except us humans. 1.5 million of the wildebeest will actually move through the savanna every single year in something that's called the Great Migration. And the Great Migration is actually so large that it can be seen all the way from the International Space Station. Now, I think we'll be able to see really up close these patches on the Maasai giraffe that are going to be to our right and our left. And also, if you notice those very big fuzzy horns on top of their heads, those are called ossicones. Now, the one on the left was showing us its prehensile tongue, that purple, bluish, black tongue that they share with the okapi. The giraffe's prehensile tongue can actually be about 18 inches long. We're going to cross around here and see if we can find some more of them. I should have been counting. I would have been able to tell you if that was all of the Maasai giraffe, but I bet there's going to be 1 or 2 hiding around. Oh, you know what? Actually, if you look just down this dirt path there to the right, you'll be able to see one of the Hartmann's mountain zebra. And you'll also, 2 of them. They've got very thick stripes on their rear legs, which is one of the ways you can differentiate them from other species of zebras. They've also got something called a dewlap, which is an extra flab of skin under their neck that helps them regulate their temperature. Now, here are the springbok, that very small antelope that eats all the grass for us out here. They got their name from their ability to spring up into the air 6 feet when standing still and 13 feet across when in motion, which is actually about half the length of our truck, and very impressive because the springbok are really only 3 feet tall. Now, over on the right on top of the hill is the male Ankole cattle, that all brown one there. Now, the Ankole cattle, you might be able to see the horns there as well in the palm trees. Now, the Ankole cattle get their, well, they have a second name. They're also called the Watusi cattle, named for the Watusi people who first domesticated them. And they were seen as a sign of wealth because of those big, beautiful horns of theirs, which can actually be about 3 to 4 feet in length each. And they only weigh about 15 pounds altogether because the horns are hollow on the inside and they're filled with blood. It helps that animal regulate its body temperature. And to have several of the Ankole cattle fenced in around your property or around your village was just to show how much wealth you had. Now, we're about to head deeper into the savanna now. I can see an African elephant up ahead, but I think we're gonna get, oh, there's two of them. We're gonna get closer looks at them when we round the corners because there's a nice little opening in the rocks. We'll be able to see them a lot better and get really good pictures too. But you'll be able to see how they use their trunk to reach up and grab the food, shake it out. But over here to the left, you'll also be able to see the mandrills. Now that very big one over there on the left that's walking away from us, that's Linus. You can meet him in the Magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom show. He is the male. The males do weigh about, the males weigh about 100 pounds when they're fully grown, and the females only weigh about 30 pounds. So very big difference between that monkey species. They've also got very short stumpy tails, but no matter how short their tail is, it's still there, which means they are considered a monkey and not an ape. Now let's see those African elephants over here on the right. Where'd they go? They couldn't have disappeared that quickly. I really thought they did a vanishing act real quick. Now if I could get a look at that one, I think that the one really close to us, it might be Mac, which is one of the males. He's kind of hiding his tusks from me. But male elephants, usually at the age of 13 years old, which is their age of maturity, will end up leaving the herds that they were born into, and they'll go off by themselves or form what we just found, which is a small bachelor herd. That's where a couple of male elephants will live together. There he is. And another one over here. Wow, this is awesome. Now, as beautiful as the elephant are, I think the greater flamingo are going to get jealous if we do not pull up ahead to say hello to them. You could see them already talking about us. Now, the greater flamingo are the largest and lightest shade pink of all the flamingo species.
Oh, they're fighting.
And if you smell the air, it's pretty salty over here. Now, that's because they get their pink coloring from tiny brine shrimp and crustaceans that they eat. And if you look about halfway down their leg, you'll see that little notch. Now, that's actually their ankle, which means that everything from there down is their whole foot. So they're pretty much always standing on their tippy toes. If you ever do see one that is standing on its full foot, it kind of looks like their leg is broken, but I promise it is not. It is just their ankle. Now we're going to pull on through here into the East Savannah. Oh, and right into the mud wallows where there seems to be a white rhino just crossing our path up ahead. I wonder if the rest of them are in pursuit. Now, as I said earlier, we saw the black rhino, but the white rhino actually weighs about 5,000 pounds, which is 2,000 pounds heavier than the one we saw earlier. And you might wonder why they're called white rhinos if they don't look very white. Now, that's because of a word vite, which means wide, not white. And if you look down to our right, you'll be able to see the very wide mouth, which is actually why they were called that. Now, just like elephants, rhinos also have super sensitive skin. We kind of saw that with the black rhino who had all the clay on his body. But the white rhinos will come over here to the mud wallows and roll around in the mud so that they have a nice coating of this natural sunscreen. Looks like it might be a little bit of a lunchtime for them. They came over here to get some grub. So we will move on along, see if maybe we can find the rest of them up here on the rocks. And actually, guys, there's somebody over here on the left as well. These two cheetahs laying down. They're going to be very far on the left there. You'll be able to see one of their heads, but one of them is laying all the way down. They are the fastest land mammals. They can run about 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds and reach a cumulative speeds of about 75 miles per hour. Cheetahs also have a cool set of black teardrops under their eyes that help them reflect sunlight, which allows them to easily hunt during the day. There's about 3 over there on the left. Now the cheetahs hunt during the daytime and the lions hunt during the night. Now we are going to round the corner here to Kopi Rocks and see if we can find any of those lazy lions. I call them lazy, guys, not to be mean, but because they do sleep for about 20 hours a day. And maybe I am just jealous, but that is a really long time. In their defense, though, they are nighttime hunters, so they've got to work up their strength. And it is often the females that do the hunting because it is the male's job to stay at home to protect the territory and protect the cubs and teach them the ways of the pride so that they can grow up big and strong. I believe we'll be able to see them over here on the left in a minute because I see some friends on the truck ahead of us taking a good look, so maybe we'll get lucky. Now let us see if they were right. Anybody see anything? Can't see anything from where I'm sitting. Oh, just over the grass there, that little patch of grass on the rocks, I see some fur. Please don't whistle at them, guys. Now, a lion's roar can actually be heard about 5 miles away, which means that if it was quiet all the time here in Animal Kingdom, you'd be able to hear them from anywhere in the park. So you can think about that when you're over in Dinoland USA or Asia getting on Everest later. Pretty cool little fun fact. We'll see if we can find any good friends of theirs, the warthogs. You'll be able to see all of the very large burrows here on the side of the hill that belong to the warthogs, as they are, of course, the largest burrowing animal. And I'm surprised that we haven't seen any of the ostrich lately. They're usually very big troublemakers. They like to hang out around here and pop out around corners, but we may not have any of them, but we do have, of course, their eggs. There are 3 female ostrich here on the reserve, and those eggs did come from them. However, because we do not have any males, those eggs won't hatch because they haven't been fertilized. But out in the wild, the eggs do have an incubation period of about 40 days. They can also be 3 pounds each, and they can take up to 200 pounds of pressure before they show any signs of cracking. Now, if an ostrich egg did crack open, though, that would be the equivalent of cracking open about 24 chicken eggs. Now, we're going to round the corner here into my favorite area of the reserve. It's called Magadi Glen. And it's home to the Warden's Post, where they keep everything running in tip-top shape on the reserve for us. And they give a great example of how we can happily coexist with nature and with the animals that live in it. Now, it can get pretty lonely out here on the reserve, so they do have some friends that keep them company. The Nigerian dwarf goats. You'll be able to see them on our left here in a second. Now, they are fully grown, though they are the smallest domesticated goats. They do love to climb on top of the tables, sometimes on top of the roof as well. And they do like to play headbutt with each other too. They're very playful. And in exchange for the great care that the warden gives them, they do bring the village of Harambe goat milk and goat cheese, which can be sold out of the ports. And as cute as they are, in my opinion, they're actually not the coolest thing going on in the post. And maybe that's my own personal opinion, but there's actually several beehives over there that you wouldn't be able to recognize because they just look like regular old barrels. And this comes from a really cool story about some farmers in Africa that were having this weird problem with elephants who were trampling and eating all their crops. Now, they had to come up with a quick fix that, of course, wasn't going to harm that elephants in any way. And they ended up finding out that elephants are actually afraid of bees. They don't like the sound of the bees buzzing, and they're also afraid to be stung. So once they put up the beehives, the elephants ended up staying away from the crops, and they were able to regrow. That made the farmers happy because they had the crops back, as well as the extra export of honey to sell out in the village. But most importantly, they kept those beautiful elephants safe for years to come. And that story of theirs did help inspire a lot of conservation efforts as well. Now, maybe that story might also inspire you all to see what small changes you'd be able to make in your daily life to help protect wildlife and the animals that live in it, just like the ones you saw with us today. I know we all know the big 3 R's of reduce, reuse, and recycle, which we can make a habit of today by recycling your paper park map if you happen to use it. Now, if you think about it, if everybody from every park, all 4 parks, used a paper park map and then recycled it at the end of the day, that'd be a big step in the right direction towards conservation. You want to know just how much of an effort it can actually make? You can check out the conservation station.
your safety and the safety of others, please be sure to use the designated walkways. And refrain from climbing over or walking on the benches as you exit the theater. Thank you.
What's that? Yeah, what time is it? Doing this recording?